Hey, thanks for taking the time to watch this brief overview going over the opportunities that BHA Financial has to offer. What we're going to talk about today is who we are, where we're going, what sets us apart from the industry, and how you can get involved. And so, BHA Financial is a full service tax office. We do tax preparation, tax planning, audit representation, credit repair, investments, insurance, and as well as financial counseling. And so we've been around for 7 years. We've got over 100 certified tax professionals that work with us in 5 major cities across 4 states in the United States. We've got over 3,500 clients last year alone. And our goal is in 2018 to have 1,000 tax professionals and be in every one of the top 20 cities across the nation. And my personal goal is to help 100 people earn $100,000 during the tax season alone. Now, before we start talking about why BHA is different from the rest of the people in the industry, I'd like to take a minute and introduce myself. My name is Bha Overview. I was born and raised in Irving, Texas, and I went to college for dentistry. And that's kind of where my story begins when it comes to taxes and how we kind of crossed paths. When I was in school for dentistry, I interned for a CPA because it was the highest paying job you can get as a college student. Really, that's all you look for. And after about 3 years of working with them, I decided to start and open up BHA Financial with the mission to help people get a taste of a higher quality of life. What I saw whenever I was working at the CPA's office was that he really worked hard during the 4 or 5 months surrounding tax season, and then he really relaxed the last 7 to 8 months of the year. And so what I saw growing up was my dad owned several restaurants, and so I saw him working 7 days a week, sun up to sundown. So I knew what it looked like to make a lot of money, but I didn't understand what it meant to have a good quality of life. See, in my opinion, quality of life and lifestyle were synonymous with one another. And the reality is your quality of life versus your lifestyle. Lifestyle is the difference between driving a Kia or a Mercedes, the difference between wearing clothes from Walmart or Neiman Marcus. Whereas quality of life really comes down to how much control you have of the time you have and the money you make. That's what determines quality of life. So the more control of time and money you have in your life, the higher your quality of life becomes. Conversely, the less control you have, the lower your quality of life becomes. And so what I found is most people think that you have to be a millionaire to enjoy a high quality of life, when in reality that's just not the case. Because the truth is, it doesn't matter how much money you make. What matters is how you make that money. That's going to determine whether or not you have any level of freedom or not. And so one of the things I got to see back when I was in college was I read a book by the name of Rich Dad Poor Dad. A gentleman wrote it. His name is Robert Kiyosaki. And so I highly, highly recommend that you read this book if you haven't heard of it before. If you haven't read it, it really changed my perspective on wealth management and just having a higher quality of life and freedom overall. And so in that book, he talks about what's important isn't how much money you make, but instead how you make that money. And he said in any capitalistic society, there's only 4 ways that someone can make money. He said the first way you can make money is as an employee. Now, as an employee, you're paid for your position, not for your performance. And so in essence, if you think, most of us, 95% of the nation, they're employees. And so most people that are employees, who ultimately controls the time that they have? If you need to take off, can you just take off, or do you have to ask your boss? 9 times out of 10, you got to ask your boss. So how much control of your time do you really have? Not very much, right? When it comes to your money, however, if you go, let's say you're coming up to the holiday season and you ask your boss, hey boss, I need an extra $3,000. We're going into the holiday season. It's going to get tight. What's your boss going to do? He'll probably laugh at you. Because ultimately, who controls your time and who controls your money? Your boss does. So what happens is oftentimes people get frustrated by being employees, and they go and decide to become what's called self-employed. Being self-employed just means you own your job. As a self-employed individual, think of myself, for example. Had I become a dentist, I would have been my own boss, But if my hands weren't inside somebody's mouth working on them, then was I making as much money? No. So really, what would have happened is either I could be like my parents were, work 7 days a week, sun up to sundown, and make a lot of money but give up all of my time, or I could take 6 months off because I am my own boss and then lower my income. And so ultimately, you get to have one or the other, but not both. The third way of making money is as a business owner. As a business owner, you own a system. Think of a McDonald's, for example. In a McDonald's, you got 16 and 17-year-olds that are working the place and somebody in their early 20s that is running the entire establishment. Each franchise takes about $1.5 million just to start up. So $1.5 million can be ran by people who barely know how to, live life. That's clearly a very successful system. But the biggest fallacy is that freedom comes from being a business owner. And the reason that's a fallacy is because I know business owners that are broke, and I know employees that are corporate executives that make millions of dollars. But it's not being an employee, being self-employed, or being a business owner that allows you freedom. It's being an investor that allows you freedom. As an investor, you have your money working for you. And your money's going to work harder for you than you worked for it. It's the best thing that'll ever work for you because it doesn't call in sick. It doesn't have baby mama drama. It doesn't, it works 365, 24/7. And so money is what you want working for you. And traditionally speaking, there's only been two real sources of having passive income as an investor. The first is in real estate, and the second is in mutual funds or investments. And so what we're trying to do at BHA is we're trying to pioneer the way in creating passive income in the tax world. Nobody else is doing it like this, and that's why we feel we're so different from the rest. But then the question obviously is how do we do that? Why taxes? Well, the reason you want to do taxes is because A, it's required, right? You have to, by law, it's mandated. Everybody and their mama's got to go file their taxes. It's practically recession proof because regardless of the economy, you're still going to file your taxes at some place. You get the opportunity to work from home as a tax professional. And last year alone, it generated $174 billion in revenue. One of the big things for me is you get to be your own boss. See, I never liked somebody else telling me when I got hungry and when I could go to lunch, when I was allowed to use the restroom, if I was allowed to go visit my family. I just didn't like somebody controlling my life. So I enjoyed being able to be my own boss and have unlimited income opportunities. I don't want to be in a position where there's a ceiling. Whether it's glass or not, doesn't matter. I just don't want any ceilings. And being in taxes, there really isn't any ceilings at all. Now, what's cool about BHA specifically is we've got a retirement program where you work with us for 5 years, and at the end of 5 years, if you'd like to, you're vested with the company and you can opt out and still earn a percentage of the money from the book of business that you created for BHA. We'll pay that to you in perpetuity, which basically means forever. So as long as that business stays on our books, we keep paying you a percentage of that. My objective is to help people build a career with us in 5 years where they're going to be able to take home between $60,000 and $100,000 a year just from the business that they built over 5 years. The reason that's so important, I feel like, is because there's two target demographics that I feel are really hurting these days. Number one, it's your single parent. Single parents across the nation have 2 and 3 jobs. They're going to school. They're trying to do whatever they can to get ahead, but unfortunately, it's next to impossible because the system was not designed for them to get ahead or win. So what we did was we built a system where a single parent, after 3 to 5 years, could get that boost they needed to get through school if they needed to get through school, or pursue a passion that they've been wanting to pursue, build a business, whatever, but have options. The second demographic is your baby boomers. Baby boomers are now in their 60s and they want to retire. The challenge is when they were young, they were sold on a dream of pensions. They were sold on a dream of having retirement and Social Security guaranteed by the government. Unfortunately, that's not what's happened. So today, you look at baby boomers, they're often found at Walmart, they're found at Denny's, and they're trying to do the best they can. However, they were just fooled because the system isn't there to help them either. And so anybody, I don't care how old you are, how young you are, within 5 years can build a passive source of income that'll pay them a livable wage for the rest of their life. And last but not least, we like to work harder in the tax season because it really is. It's 4 months of intense work, but then we like to play hard as well. And so we have an all-inclusive trip. This year, it's a 7-day cruise down the coast. And so it's going to go to Progreso, Mexico, Costa Maya, Grand Cayman Islands, the Bahamas. And so it's 7 days, all inclusive, all you can eat, all you can drink. The excursions are going to be taken care of. And so I know after a crazy tax season, a few of y'all are going to be wanting to do a little bit of the all you can drink, right? Do a little bit of all you can drinking, if you will. And so, but that's what we do. And so when it comes to being an actual client of ours, what sets us apart as a tax professional business is that your typical option or your most common option is your at-home softwares like TurboTax, for example. The reason people use TurboTax, and I'm sure you probably listening have used TurboTax in the past, the reason most people use TurboTax is because A, it's convenient. You get to do it from the comfort of your home without going out into the element. But B, and probably more importantly, is that there's a low upfront cost. Most people can get their TurboTax software for anywhere between $50 and about $150. Now, unfortunately, just like anything else, in taxes, you get what you pay for. And so the challenges are the average individual spends about 13 hours preparing their own taxes. That's what the IRS has reported. 13 hours of your free time goes towards preparing taxes. And so if your free time is worth as little as $15 an hour, now I hope it's worth more than that, but if it's not, then you spent $200 just trying to prepare your own taxes, not to mention the cost of the software. In essence, you spent $300 to $400 total, where you could have just gone to a professional and gotten it done. Because even at the end of the day, your accuracy of your taxes really depends on your knowledge of tax law. Now, have any of you taken a tax law course? Probably not. I don't know if you knew this or not, but the tax code has 74,608 pages in it. Almost 75,000 pages. To call yourself a professional because you can use TurboTax is like calling yourself a doctor because you can Google your symptoms. It's not the same thing. And then last but not least, you have limited tax support. So if you file your taxes on your own and come July or August, you get audited, and it's not if, it's a when. On average, 1 in every 1,000 people will get audited. And the IRS is cracking down harder and harder year after year because you're trying to generate revenue. Who are you going to go to? TurboTax won't represent you. Now you're stuck on your own trying to figure out tax law and how to work with the IRS. So the next option, the most common option, is H&R Block, or one of the big three. So that's H&R Block, Jackson Hewitt, Liberty Tax. The benefit with using one of the big three is accountability. Now, the reason that's even a topic to bring up is because some people, believe it or not, will go to a no-name, hole-in-the-wall tax professional that kind of popped up at a Kroger's or any other grocery store. And the challenge with some of those mom and pop tax offices is that you'll hear horror stories, and I'm sure you've heard them. I know everyone I've ever talked to has heard of the horror story of how one of their friends got their taxes done through their neighbor's aunt's uncle's dog, and the guy took advantage of them, got them an astronomically large refund 1 year. They got audited, and they owed in back taxes for 3 years because the IRS said, hey, it was fraudulent. Now, by the time you went back to, your neighbor's uncle's cousin's dog, the dog's gone. And so there's no accountability. With the big three, at the very least, you have accountability. So if you do get in a bind or someone did take advantage of you, you can't call home office, you can't call corporate, and they'll do their best to make sure they can remedy the service. They also offer fast service. You go in at Monday at 3, by Monday at 5, you're out the door and your taxes have been filed. However, unfortunately with the big three, you don't get what you pay for because you are paying a very high cost. The reality is it's hard. They get you with those, the teaser prices at $149 to get your taxes done, $79. I've even seen $49 to get your taxes done. However, after they add on the administration fees, the booking fees, the paperwork fees, the you're under 8 feet tall fees, there's all sorts of astronomical fees they add. The average tax fee total for any one of the big three is $531. That means for every client that paid $250, somebody paid $700 to $800 as well. But for paying that high a cost, you get subpar service. You have somebody that makes $9.50 an hour sit in front of you, prepare your taxes, has no incentive or care in the world as to what your tax situation is, doesn't interview you or ask any questions, and you get subpar service, and again, limited support. Ultimately, same thing. You have a question in June, July, good luck finding the H&R Block that offered you the service in the beginning. Oftentimes, they're pop-up locations only there for 4 months. Even if you do get a corporate location, they're not going to represent you in the event of an audit. Your next option, really your best option short of BHA, is a CPA. A CPA gives you quality service, high levels of accuracy, but comes at the highest of costs. Your average CPA will charge anywhere from $600 on up to $2,000 or $3,000. But with that high cost also comes a long wait. The reality is a CPA has only 4 months to make a bulk of his or her income. And so if it's Monday at 10 a.m., would he rather take a client like my dad, for example, who had several small businesses and pay $2,500 each year to do his taxes, or would he rather take on a client like you or me who's going to pay $200? Same hour or two to do the work. Obviously, he's going to prioritize a client that pays more. It's not good or bad. It's just the way the game is played. He has to prioritize his time. And so oftentimes for individuals, we don't get serviced until March, April, or even with extensions after tax season. And then last, the level of accountability. Although there's higher levels of accountability because there are boards and there are government agencies that will help hold people accountable, ultimately, again, if a CPA takes advantage of you, good luck trying to get them. Good luck trying to find them, right? And so with BHA, we're different. The reason we're different is, number one, we have the same convenience of any one of your at-home softwares. The reason for that is we have a proprietary app that we've designed that helps a client stay at home, fill out the forms, take pictures of all their documents, send it up to the cloud, and have one of our professionals prepare their taxes for them, and within 24 hours give them a quote, have it signed, sealed, and delivered. The next thing is we have high levels of accountability. Again, if anyone goes rogue, if something happens, you have home office to call all year long. You don't have to worry about having a problem with the IRS. We will represent you, and we're the only one that I've ever met that will represent you at no charge to you whatsoever. We have a high level of accuracy. See, a lot of companies will try to brag about giving you the largest refund possible, and although it sounds enticing, you have to understand it's not worth it. Because if it's not real, if it's not what you were entitled to, the IRS will find out and they will come back and they'll charge you penalties and interest and fees, and it just ends up not being worth it. So what we do is we have the highest level of accuracy. So you're going to get the highest refund you're entitled to. We have a 3-step check process. The first step is the software does an automatic diagnostics. The second step is we have CPAs. And the third step is we even have an enrolled agent that will review every single one of our returns. We have 24-hour turnaround. I know I mentioned that earlier, but that's very critical. And when you're doing your taxes, the reality is you want to know that speed is on your side, that we care about your money as much as you do. We have year-round support, so you don't have to worry about any letters from the IRS. As a matter of fact, for our clients, we have them fill out a document that allows us to have correspondence with the IRS simultaneously as you do. So in other words, if you got a letter from the IRS, you aren't alone. We receive the same letter, and we'll know that we got it, and so we'll give you a call before you have to call us. And we'll say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Klein, did you receive this letter from the IRS? Yes or no? Believe it or not, a lot of times people will put things away because they're afraid of opening up the IRS's letters. And we'll read it to them and we'll walk them through the process, reassuring them that they know that they're not alone. And we do all of this at a low cost. We're generally about 20% cheaper than the big three across the board. The two biggest things, in my opinion, that we do is number one, we do a free 3-year audit. So your last 3 years' taxes, we will go and audit absolutely at no charge to you just to make sure you got every penny you deserved. And last but not least, we do financial consulting. And this is huge because at the end of the day, most people's tax refunds is the single largest check that they're going to receive all year. It ranges from $3,000 on up to $10,000. Most people don't receive single checks larger than that. And because they don't, they were never taught how to handle that money. So what they do is they pay off some of the holiday debt that they incurred. They put a down payment on a car and buy a flat screen TV. Now, most people, when I say that, they chuckle because they understand, hey, that was my story last year. That's exactly what I did with my tax refund. But that's because they didn't know any better. See, people don't make foolish decisions financially on purpose. They make the decisions to the best of their knowledge based on the information they were given. Unfortunately, most people aren't given all the facts. If someone knew, hey, the difference between allowing my child to go to college versus not go to college was the difference of $300 out of that refund, my guess is people would make a few different decisions. If the difference was, hey, out of the $6,000, if I put $2,000 away, I could actually hit retirement, you're probably going to reprioritize it. Some of that money, yeah, absolutely. Go on vacation, have a blast. But at least you should know. And so we've partnered up with a company. They're a phenomenal company with unbelievable service. What they do is they work with BHA clients at no charge to the client, and they provide a game plan, which is basically a portfolio that shows them how to get out of debt sooner, how to hit retirement or any of their goals. They provide education on a regular basis, and they provide a financial coach, somebody that's going to help our clients along the way in life. So if a client has a mortgage question, hey, I'm looking to refinance, you know who to call. If a client wants to buy a car, hey, I don't know how the interest rate works, you know who to call. And so it allows our clients to have an it guy, just like wealthy folk have always had. See, the wealthy don't need financial advisors, but they've always had them. And so they know how to play the game of money because they know the rules. People like you and I, we were never taught these rules. And so I don't want clients of BHA Financial to just get their taxes done with BHA. I want clients of BHA Financial to really feel the impact that having all your finances in order provides, and that freedom and sense of relief. Because the reality is financial burden and financial stress is the number one cause of divorce. It's the number one cause of male suicide, and oftentimes it's the number one cause of abuse. And so it's not a light task that we're taking on. And I'm so proud that our company has been able to create the impact that we've been able to do. And where we're going is going to be phenomenal because of it, because of the vision we have and the direction we're going in. And so I'll lighten it up a little bit, and I'll tell you about kind of what your role is in all this. This is you. So what you do is you get to work with us, and you're going to get a referral code. Now, your referral code is going to be what you post on Facebook or send out as text messages. When you put your referral code with the link you're going to forward everyone to is bha.financial/getinfo. From there, your friends or your family members will go to the link, enter your referral code, and download the app. Now, because we have this proprietary app that I was mentioning earlier, it allows you to have clients across the nation. You're not limited to your local vicinity anymore. Now, let's say, for example, one of your friends, let's call her Susie B, goes to the link. She finds your link on Facebook. She goes to bha.financial/getinfo, puts in your referral code, downloads the app. Well, what happens? Well, she gets a quote within 24 hours, and let's say her fee was $250. So with $250, you tell her about the Strive for 5 program. The Strive for 5 program, all it says is if you refer us to 5 other people that do business with us, we'll do your taxes for free, regardless the price. So essentially, she goes and finds her friend, and says, hey, if you use my referral code, you can get $25 off of your return, and they'll give you a free quote. Fantastic. We do his taxes. Well, Susie B here got $25 off her refund or her return. Then she does it to another friend. She gets another friend involved, and she helps. All she does really is send a text message saying, hey, I just got my taxes done through BHA Financial. A friend of mine referred me, and if you'd like to get a free quote and $25 off of your taxes, use this. You go to bha.financial/getinfo and use my referral code. And because she uses her referral code, or these clients use her referral code, she gets $25 off each person that does business with us. Now, what's cool is she got 4 out of the 5. So at this point, she saved $100 on her taxes. So the fifth person doesn't just take $25 off. The fifth person, let's say it's grandma over here, saves Susie B $150, essentially making Susie B's taxes for free. And as a byproduct, you got paid close to $1,500. Now, what's cool is most people these days, believe it or not, in a world where we have social networking going on and social media, we're not very social, ironically. So let's say, for example, you only knew Susie B, and that's all you knew. You didn't know anybody else. Fortunately, what we're going to do is we do a follow-up call with every single one of our clients, Susie B and all, and we tell them about the Strive for 5 program in case you may have forgotten to mention it. So let's take Grandpa over here and we say, hey, Grandpa, how did you like your service with BHA Financial on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you were blown away by our service and 1 being you would never come back? Where would you say you were at? Let's say Grandpa said, well, I was an 8. Okay, Grandpa, what got you to an 8? Well, I liked the fact that the customer service was phenomenal. The speed was amazing. We got information immediately, yada, yada, yada. Great. What is it that kept you from becoming a 10? Oh, well, Susie B, who referred me, she, I don't know, needed deodorant, for example, right? And so we're like, okay, great. I'll be sure to let Susie B know, hey, Susie, you got to use some of that deodorant, sweetheart. You're a little bit ripe. And so Grandpa, did you know about our Strive for 5 program? Your fees were whatever. Did you know we could do your taxes for free if you just refer us to 5 people? Well, Grandpa's like, well, heck, my son needs to go do his taxes. And so he tells us about his son. His son does taxes with us. He says, hey, my daughter needs to do her taxes. Her daughter joins work and does her taxes through us. And my daughter-in-law needs to do her taxes. And so daughter-in-law does taxes through us. As a matter of fact, my neighbor Pablo Picasso needs to do his taxes. And my doctor needs to do his taxes. And so Grandpa over here refers us to 5 people. Now, how much was Grandpa's refund or his tax return? It was free, right? Absolutely. And on top of that, you got paid still $1,500. Now, let's say, for example, Pablo Picasso down there, he's like, wait, if I can get my taxes done for free by just referring 5 people, heck, look at my 5 friends. And he gets his 5 friends to work with you and do taxes through BHA. You get paid yet an additional $1,500. And so you may never need to know the person beyond the first 2 people that you talk to, but through our exit call and us letting the clients know about Strive for 5, we're going to place you in contact with a lot of the clients. You just got to help us find the first person in that chain of clients. What I tell all of my guys whenever I'm coaching them is aim to help 25 people strive for 5 and get free tax returns. What that'll pay you in return is $37,000. How long does it take to make $37,000? In all reality, it takes about 10 hours a week, every single week of tax season, to realistically earn about $37,000. See, here's the deal. What I want to do that's different from BHA as opposed to any other company out there is there's all sorts of companies out there that are promising you the world. I'm not interested in promising you the world. I don't like to sell the ceiling. In other words, I'm not going to tell you about this one time we had a guy who came in and he stood on one leg and he was able to recruit 30,000 people who knew 40,000 people and he made $10 million in 2 weeks, which is what most companies do. I'm not looking for the outliers. What I'm looking for is how can I help the average associate that works with me make the most amount of money possible. Now, that doesn't mean that the Michael Jordan of BHA isn't going to make a lot of money. That just means the person who is, working hard, he deserves to get paid. Now, luckily, with us, you don't have to wait until the end of tax season to get paid. Our pay schedule, you get paid the 1st and the 15th of every single month. And so that's what it looks like with working with us. It's not complicated. It's not hard. You work directly with a coach who's going to walk you through every step of the way, teach you marketing. He's going to teach you how to utilize your social network. They're going to teach you how to talk to people if you're afraid to. Heck, oftentimes you don't even have to. These days, text messaging is sufficient enough. And so if you really do become one of the people that work really hard and bust your butt, what that's going to allow you to do is that's going to allow you to go on a trip with us at the end of the tax season. On that trip, we're going to talk to basically those that qualified are going to be the ones that were the top performers this tax season. With those people, we're going to talk about our expansion. So currently, like I mentioned earlier, we're in 5 cities across 4 states. The goal, however, in 2018 is to be in the top 20 cities in the nation. So the question is, who gets to be in the top 20 cities? The people that are the top performers are going to be given the opportunity to open up shop in any one of the cities they choose to. And their first year as franchisees with BHA, our projections show that they're going to earn about $200,000. So if career advancement and growth is what you're looking for, this is the best place to be, really. And so let me talk about the 5-year retirement plan that I had mentioned earlier. The 5-year retirement plan basically is this. If you help 25 people each season over the next 5 years, strive for 5, and it gets easier year after year because you have a larger client base. You already know how to talk to people. People know that you're in the tax world. I mean, it gets easier and easier. But let's say you don't do any better than your first year, and your first year is always going to be your most challenging, but that's why your coach is there. You make $37,000 your first year. That's not bad. Most people don't make that in a year. You would have made it in 4 months. At that point, I would ask you to take a step back and think, if I could make in the next 3 months what I made all last year, how would I spend the rest of the year? Would I vacation? Would I enjoy new hobbies, take up some new hobbies perhaps? Would I invest in a business? Would I keep working at my current job and just save that money? What would I do? Your second year, you do the same amount of work, but this year, you also get a percentage of last year's business. So that's $18,500. So now the same amount of work paid you $55,500. Year 3, you do the same amount of work, help 25 people get their taxes done for free, except this year, you have 2 more years of income coming your way. From years 1 and 2, that book of business still kept growing. In other words, you made $74,000. Year 4, you go at it again, and now you made $92,000. Year 5, you do the same amount of work, same 25 clients that you helped get their taxes done for free, but this time you made $111,000. The reason we designed the system this way is 2 things. Number 1, we want you after 5 years, when you're vested with the company, year 6, you'll have $100,000 to take home with you without working at all. At that point, should you choose to retire, you can. See, when it comes to hitting your goals in life, what I've realized is there's 3 components. Number 1, you got to have a destination. Number 2, you got to have the path. And number 3, you got to have a vehicle. Taxes for most people will not be your destination. For most people, it's not taxes as your life. I get it. For most people, taxes is going to be the vehicle that's going to get you to your destination. And so the second reason we've designed the pay structure the way we have is because ultimately, no matter how many people you're going to talk to, if they're a private tax preparer, you'll notice that they can't have more than 250 to about 350 clients, because at about that point, you're tapped out. You can't really work harder. So with this, though, you can have as many clients as you want. You can have 500, you can have 1,000, and you'll still get paid on all of it, allowing you the opportunity to have a massive book of business just like an actual tax firm without any of the liabilities. So the question is, how do you get started? What's the next step? First of all, you got to reply to this email that you got that was sent to you and express your interest. We'll have one of our admins send you the documentation you need to sign, and we'll assign you to a coach that will guide you through the rest of the season. Your primary objective needs to be to get with that coach one-on-one, face-to-face. If you're out of the state of Texas, get with them online and express your goals and write down a game plan that will help get you where you need to get to. Because see, not every coach is designed to help every individual. We have coaches tailor-made for each type of goal. If your goal is, hey, I just want to dip my toe in and earn $1,000 of $2,000 or $3,000, that's okay. We've got coaches that specifically will help you earn a small amount of money. However, if your goal is, I want to jump in the deep end, I want to learn, I want to make $40,000 this tax season, really change my life financially, then great. We've got different coaches assigned for that. So your goals really do determine what kind of coach you're going to get. I appreciate your time, guys. I really thank you for taking a few minutes and listening to what we had to offer. And so don't forget, reply to this email. Let us know that you're interested and let us get the start of your career. I hope to see you guys as soon as we can. Thanks once again. Talk to you soon. Bye.